Okay, we're back. I don't remember if I played this cutscene for you already. I probably did. Not much of a scene. Here's our equivalent to Halo CE, brace for impact, all the Marines are dead, but this time it's just we fell off of one piece of metal onto another piece of metal and everyone is fine. We've gone from alone to alone. We went from knowing nothing to knowing nothing. And yeah, this is about the gayest and least impactful 0 to 100 moment ever. I'm sure there's some dumb book you could read that says something like, just throw something massive, never before seen massive into the way, like immediately. That's how you do storytelling, but yeah, do I sound impressed? Whoa, the giant metal planet Forerunner thing pulled us in. Wow. And
I'm sorry. It's the crash.
here's
Goodbye.
bitch Cortana, hobbit thing.
Before we left the dawn.
We'll get into all of the
Really?
thoughts I've kind of
I'm
banked
fine.
for this episode in a moment. We'll let these two talk it out. Or I'll just talk over them, you know. Pretty sure this scene already played
I was
and
put
nothing
into
of interest
service
here.
8 years ago.
8 years.
Why does Cortana have an ass and breasts?
AIs
That's just
deteriorate
dumb.
After 7, Chief.
God, I hate this.
Halsey,
Her hair looks
We need to
way
find
too,
Halsey.
like,
Chief,
full,
please.
like she's wearing a
She made
wig
you.
on top of
She
her
can fix
body.
you.
I won't recover from rampant.
Like, her hair was the same kind of, like,
if we can just get back to Earth
see-through
and
kind of
find Halsey,
ephemeral
she can fix
hologram
this.
property as the rest of her body in one,
Don't.
and I'm pretty sure in the rest as well.
You can't keep.
And then in this, look at that, like her face is just solidly rendered
You need
and
to
she's got
move.
like generic video game hair just sitting on top. I didn't notice
Doesn't
that, like I
the
didn't look
Covenant
closely at
very
her
much better than
face
we
yet.
did.
Oh gee, that's another thought that I never really properly thought of, but
Why?
geez, her hair looks
We
wrong.
still need a ride home.
Yep, find a way home. So, various things we can say today. What I'll say for the minute is, Halo CE, when you land, it's got a very distinct feeling, so distinct they could revive it for Infinite, when they tried to kind of come crawling back a little for anything recognizable. We land in that kind of like, very nice green mountainous area. Whereas this is, when I look at this, you know what I think very specifically? That this is like a very generic, almost ahead of its time, generic shooter video game area. Like Destiny looks like this, and another important thing, you'll all have to like open a tab on to look at this so later, so you know what I'm talking about. There's this channel on YouTube a friend showed me to laugh at called Big Fry TV. Big Fry, like French fry, because everyone calls themselves something stupid on YouTube. And this ties back to Halo, I'll get there. Big Fry is this surreal channel who, with complete earnestness, he doesn't think it's insane. He covers what, in my mind, is basically like the shadow industry of video games. Like, there is just constantly a succession of video games being made attempting to steal the market niche of like Destiny and Tom Clancy's The Division. Just this like endless flood of games which are like extraction shooter set on an exotic alien world. The three factions are fighting over ancient alien artifacts. Power up your character and go on the raids. And all of them are just like generic grey wastelands that look like this, with like purple and green sparking shit and green crystal alien gems. And you really need to look at the Big Fry channel to appreciate how fucking weird this is, that there are like hundreds of these games almost. Like, that's an exaggeration, but there are genuinely dozens. And it's so weird, like, looking into each one, like, studios who made real games, not necessarily great ones, which I recognize from the 2000s, they didn't close, they just somehow fell into this, like, shadow economy of making a game that's almost exactly like Tom Clancy's The Division, but in space, and allegedly it cost like $100 million. And what happens with Big Fry on the channel is pretty much all of them run for a year or two and then just like bust, they close, they fail to like secure a market that made them worth running. So every Big Fry video, it's so surreal, it's just like, He's in another game that looks exactly like this, like your generic grey field full of like sparking purple shit, and he's like, this game had such a brilliant vision, it had a great community, I was really looking forward to getting into this one, it's such a shame it didn't make it, and it's like, he's making this exact video almost word for word, like every few days, because there are that many of these games, and they all look the same, they all are received the same, they all follow the exact same trajectory, and somehow this just keeps on happening, and every time Big Fry makes a video, if you don't believe me, just look at that channel. There is like, this is what first-person shooter and like Western action game in general became, like 1,000 games that look like this and play and look like a bastard child of Destiny. Shut up, Cortana. Destiny and Tom Clancy's The Division. And how this ties back into Halo. Joseph Staten had an interesting career after Halo. After kind of like dipping around within Microsoft doing like various non-jobs because they don't know how to use an artist to save their lives, he swung back into Halo to kind of help them with just probably more producing experience than anything else, like production role, like manager, just like wrangled their team of helpless idiots into just finishing a bare minimum game. And I think he had some creative input, but that's a whole other talk. And then he left Microsoft for a bit, and I remembered reading articles about how like Netflix scouted him. They picked him up for like, they wanted to run their own like first-person shooter property, like a action game with a sci-fi twist, and they're like, okay, who's like big in the industry, who's free? Oh, Joseph Staten, we'll pick him up. And yeah, then I just like remembered and thought like, oh, maybe Joseph Staten's been like working like just quietly on some cool thing, and maybe I can learn something about it since. I was like talking to the same friend who showed me Big Fry while I went and like looked this up. And fucking Joseph Staten had already like brought a game to like finished production for Netflix, and then that game had gotten cancelled because he made another fucking Big Fry Vania Born, like his game, his like thing he made, like, oh, I was happy to like lead my Halo Infinite at Microsoft, but now I'm off to go look for new things to do. Netflix scout me for something completely new, and it basically looks like this ruined field, and it's like, yeah, again, like bastard child of Tom Clancy's The Division and Destiny. It looks like 500 other games that got made and cancelled since like 2015, and it had the exact same fate. That's such a powerful force that it just fucking grabbed Joseph Staten somehow. And it kind of goes into what I was getting into at the end of the CE series with like, how well can we really know in such a diffuse product like a video game, even CE, which still like dozens of people did significant work on? I want to still give these people the benefit of the doubt. Like, I don't think Joseph Staten's like idea of something awesome is making the Big Fry game. I think that what happened is probably just like, probably he just kind of got like a bit of gamer brain, like he's willing to accept like, okay, like video game is a stock form and there are like things you do, and again, it probably, I imagine he's accepted that like, oh well, I'm older, so like it's the Western industry, that just means I have to like sit at a desk and like manage people at team meetings and stuff. That's why you hire Joseph Staten, the guy who like wrote a lot of Halo. You get him to just like lead your team huddles and get your like gang of Indian contract slaves on their H-1Bs to just do their like 3 months of work before you cycle them out. That's the state of the industry. I want to believe that the sorry state of what he worked on is not just like sheerly a reflection of the kind of work he's capable of. But still, that's kind of a pessimistic thing to say in its own way. It's just like, I don't think Staten is that bad. I think that this industry is that bad that it will just like reduce talented men capable of genuinely brilliant work to just making things which are so bad that they are absurd. And this whole area just brought that to my mind, how like Halo was so rich with identity, the area that you land in, and this is something that I've seen in like 100 other video games. Do you get what I mean? How it looks like a Destiny in the worst way possible. And anyway, speaking of things that are terrible, we just picked up a saw. Apparently that's in Halo now. We're gonna get the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 audience on board. Okay, I'll turn myself down in post and let's listen to this thing. That is how I'd imagine a saw would sound in Overwatch. That's always the comparison that comes to mind. Like, this thing we just loaded doesn't look like an ammo drum, it looks like an Overwatch energy orb, and just like... At the same time, it feels weirdly tactile and completely flaccid, like, the sharp, like, brrrm. That sounds like something is coming out, but, like, the feedback of the gun and, like, the edge on the tone, it's just... It feels more like I'm firing something, but less like I'm handling a gun. Like, we've gone from, like, idealized video game virtual weapon to, like, real thing, but that real thing is airsoft, if you appreciate the difference I'm getting at. Now, I'll just make sure I've been recording, and then we'll go through this little thing. Yep, we appear to be recording, so let's go. We've got to actually finish this level at some point. I'll hold on to this and use this as well. I think we gave the assault rifle a good showing first video. I'll try to give everything a run. Give you a more interesting show, and we're on normal. Nothing will get in my way.
I'm picking up a faint transmission on the high band.
Covenant?
I don't think so. The pattern's different. I'll try to triangulate its position.
I really just want to draw attention to how, like, they tried, like, on some level they understood, like, oh, we should have, like, a big open moment, like when you get out the pod in Halo 2. It looked ugly as shit and, like, missed the point of, like, look how big our levels we can render are. And then immediately we're in this, like, craggy shit. I hate it. And look, there's video game gems. I genuinely didn't know these were in the fucking game, but of course they are. And if you remember, I said way back, when Hideo Kojima saw one of his Western staffers playing Halo 3 at launch, he said, shoot that fern, because he wanted to basically, I think it's obvious, he wanted to appreciate whether or not, like, a detail was incidental in a technical sense. Shoot that gem, Anthony. Weak as piss. Oh, this game pisses me off. How do I swap grenade type? I guess it's not that high a priority, is it? Oh, I use the D-pad to do stuff in this game. Never mind. Okay, I had a lot more to say. I could talk again about the role of Cortana in relation to mythology and how that's, like, undermined by turning her into a dumpy she-hobbit. But I'm sure you know that. Oh, wait. Here's our epic reveal moment. Wow, I love this new Destiny 2 expansion. I love this latest game Big Fry is super excited for that's going to be shit-canned in 6 months. Again, this is just like very crass, tasteless one-upping of Bungie, like, ooh, you found like the big alien structure in Halo CE? Well, these ones are 10 times as big, and they float, and they have glowing PC gaming lights on them. Yeah, I guess they do, but that doesn't mean I like them. A detail that I'm sure no one at 343 got because they're troglodytes. You guys might get this if I put it to you in words you might be familiar with by now. Do you get what I mean if I say this doesn't excite me because it's not real? Look at all of this shit. This is just like painted on skybox. This is just like the matte painting in a movie. Microsoft, I mean, Bungie, sorry, they had like big showy stuff as well, like the idea that you could always see the ring over the distance, like your horizon was circling up around you because you're on a ring. That was cool, but when they had their big like monolithic alien structure reveal, what was cool about that was that you actually like walked up it and like you very deliberately had a battle on top of it. You were protecting the Marines and they would like hide on it and in it, and that's the whole idea of the level, that you're like, the levels are actually set on and in these things as they're embedded within the natural landscape. Compare that to what's going on here, where it's just like, I'm in a generic video game like series of corridors, but like, ooh, look at what we painted on the skybox. It's a like generic but sci-fi meaningless pillar of gaming PC. Awesome, thank you, Frank O'Connor. And what's this? A bunch of like jettisoned human military shit, but it all just looks bad. Yeah, here's something we can talk about. This is a warthog, and if there's an intact one later, we can talk about the significance of those. I have things to say that I think people will appreciate.
Warthogs, and still in one piece. Nice to see your luck is holding out.
Cortana 1 is still in one piece, warthog. The other ones aren't. Okay, I think what I said about the saw is going to be true of every gun in this game. Listen to this. It sounds sharper, more like distinct bullets are cracking out of this thing. But yeah, more real, maybe more tactile, but the tactility is not the sensation of a bullet. I am like very viscerally firing like plastic shells out of this or something. Also, I hate that like double, like weird retro futurist thing where it's like an old-timey machine gun with the 2 triggers or whatever. We look inside, it's mostly the same. Did I show you the inside of the dash in the first game? Anyway, on some level they seem to get it, just they couldn't help but like whore it out with a bit of junk detail. No step, no step. They're just like, oh, it's practical. Look, we thought of things that would be done in a real environment. Shut up, 343, that's silly. Oh, look at all these jerry cans, we're so practical. Give me a moment to look up here and then I'll get into my thoughts on that. Oh. Alright, so this is kind of like the 343 Guilty Spark thing, but way less fun. We use the battle rifle as well. We'll use the pistol. I like the pistol. So we found instead of like a pelican, which suggests like a squad and something went wrong, it's like half of a ship, but they still do the radio thing, which just doesn't excite me.
The sooner the better.
Yeah, you want me to stop talking just because I'm going to keep shit talking your game if I stay here, Cortana. Imposter Cortana. Anyway, where I was going with the vehicle is, there's this novel I really like, The Short Timers by Gustav Harsford. It's the novel which became the film Full Metal Jacket it was adapted into. Stanley Kubrick is not doing the exact same thing, he's very much his own man even when he's adapting, but he's playing off of what's there, and what's striking in that novel, something that really, like, reached me, and I got a friend to read it and he sent me the same thing, the guy who I was watching Big Fry with. He sent me one of the like main paragraphs that like stuck in my memory from that thing, but I couldn't quite remember if it was something I said and he just like thought of it and sent it to me, or if it was from the book. And he says like, yeah, this is from the book, and what it is, it's Private Joker, who you might know from the movie. He's like just miserable all novel because the Vietnam is very war, and especially as depicted in the novel, is very silly and insane. He's having an awful time there. And he has this moment where he sees a tank on a road and is just like temporarily just pleased to see it because everything around him is so like fucked up and nonsensical and just like rendered demented by human error, but the tank is just this thing that's like sheerly built for purpose, and just every part of it reflects that, and he finds that calming in just the sea of like idiocy, error, and passion that's all around him. Just this like abysmally run war. It's like he looks at an American army's tank and thinks, yeah, this thing is serious. This thing gets stuff done. This thing has a goal in mind and it's all about doing it. I love this tank. And what I was thinking is, just like when I read that I thought, wow, that's just like how I described like UNSC design in the first game. And yeah, now we're looking at this and I don't know if this thing pleases Private Joker. Like, if I were to describe this thing, I could not mistake Joker's quote for, like, being a quote of me talking about Halo. Sorry if that whole connection just makes this a bit more garbled. It's just, going back to what I wrote about the first time, there's a, like, brilliant practicality of the original design, which just ties thematically into the point of the game very well, and by now, it's very obvious that they've just kind of, like, lost that, and they're just doing shit for the sake of it. Like, oh, we want to put our own touch on the Warthog, and just all of these touches just, you know, they just rough out its edges and fill it with shit. Like, why is it dirty? It's got, like, scuffs on the paint. Maybe that's not inherently bad, but I did love the, like, shiny, ultra-polished metal of the original game. I don't know if only the Xbox could render that, or if just nobody took it to be a serious stylish element since. I get why they didn't do it too, because they were basically trying to impersonate a generational tech jump on the same machine, so they just, like, changed the look of everything, so it's like, whoa, Halo looks radically new on the same technology. It's impressive they managed to change it that much at all, even if it wasn't necessarily better, just different. And, you know, now we're, like, one, almost two real tech jumps away, and their innovation is just, like, nonsensical side grades to the design, which just really ruin the purity of it. And it's just, what is the texture these seats are made out of? Really, what is that meant to be? Is that like a fabric? I'm just confused and upset. I don't like the gun, I don't like how it looks, it's just... There's something very pleasing about a serious, purpose-oriented design, and we're not getting it here. That Warthog works too. I might drive that one just out of spite for this one. Sorry if that was all just stuff I'd said before, but the vehicles, they're rather central to Halo. We're going to take a serious look at each one. Ugh, from behind it just doesn't look as good, if you ask me. Like, these bars just make it look like really wide, which makes it feel...
Chief? About my condition...
Still got the horn, which is fun.
I didn't want to mention it, seeing as how it's a complete long shot. But
Oh, God. About your condition.
That getting home could help me find a solution for my rampancy.
How?
How?
Well, as far as I know, I'm the only AI ever generated from living tissue. A clone of Dr. Halsey, to be precise. It may be possible to recompile my neural net by replicating those same conditions. But that means getting back to Halsey. Soon.
Yeah, so if you don't know the whole, like, lore with Cortana, I don't know if this was Nyland's contribution or whose, but whoever did it was very much doing the classical mythology thing, because, as she said, Cortana was born from living tissue, specifically the brain of her creator. They cloned a Dr. Halsey and used her brain to, like, digitize it and create Cortana, which is, like, a science fiction way of springing from the mind of your progenitor fully formed, like, you know, Athena with Zeus. And that's, like, the whole characterization of Cortana, that if the Master Chief is this, like, killing machine, or, like, the killing potential of humanity brought to this, like, brilliant shine, even if, like, the idea is, like, in the lore, the Master Chief is actually very educated, he's an intelligent leader of men, in practice, the game could become a bit grug without Cortana, and she's very much, like, the spirit of the game, that she's this, like, cerebral, knowing edge who just changes the context of what you're doing and makes things a bit higher brow. And yes, by making her, like, this, like, weepy girlfriend of the Master Chief, we are now, like, what she stopped the first game from becoming. She is now, like, serving the bad end. Ugh, we're in a Big Fry video again. This whole thing looks like shit, but video games insist on doing this exact look forever. Apparently. Well, it's weird. These Big Fry games, they keep bombing, but somehow they keep getting made, and different studios just line up to shoot themselves in the head. I've talked before about certain classes of production striking me like playing Russian roulette, like, okay, if this bombs, your company is going to die, and, like, what are your odds? Like, are you making sure to clear the chambers before you go, or are you making, like, the most, like, boxed office poison premise you can with all-in commitment for some reason? Making one of these Big Fry games, that's that, but so is, like, making a Halo game with, like, in the way 343 do, if you ask me, but yeah, I get that 343 don't die because they're, like, sponsored by Microsoft, but how are all these other ones getting made? I genuinely have no idea. This is a weird, weird industry, but yes.
Chief,
Oh.
I'm hearing that strange signal again. stronger this time.
Alright, maybe we'll get some
Something
plot.
to it.
I'm curious more than anything. Its behavior is odd.
Even when she's like directing the mission, she doesn't feel like a cerebral presence anymore. She's just like the tech support girl, generic video game thing. Oh great, thanks Halo 4. I get to my first, you know, Covenant section and with the Warthog. And I have no one to work the gun. This is fun. Someone said that like the momentum and acceleration of the aliens is wrong, and yeah, this guy has volunteered to show us. Look at the way this guy like bounces into movement, like he snaps into a new mode of moving. He goes like 0 to 100. Like, do you see him there, the way he was going from like still to sprint, like half a second at a time, how wrong that looked? Come on buddy, do something. Okay, let's see if I can hijack in this game. Get over here. That was a very weak animation. The way, like, just like ported from Halo 2, but in a world with more detail. Oh god, what did they do to the ghost's metal? It's made out of the, like... What is this? This is what, like, an Armenian would put on the surface of a sports car. But honestly, that's arguably, if you consider the Covenant, they're meant to be, like, these, like, idiotic, kind of, like, weird, smooth, natural, obsessed, like, kind of, like, a parody of Catholic kitsch aesthetically, like, them having, like, gross Arab sensibility vehicles almost makes sense, but I would say that the, like, way it's, like, beautiful in its own way in Halo CE, like, all their vehicles look like these bizarre ornaments made out of, like, metal. I like that, whereas, like, them driving, like, what a Saudi would do to a ghost is not cool, even if it still makes a kind of sense. Like, what is this, like, weird hexagon metal thing? Septic, whatever shape that is, it's got 6 sides. I'm not a doctor. That is just really, really ugly. Like, the ugliest metallic surface possible. Like, it almost, like, redeems this Warthog for me that it's not that thing. And yeah, if I look close at every Covenant surface, is it going to be something like that? I might have, like, the settings for the graphics down low, I don't know, but we can still see that these don't look good aesthetically. Like, the green highlights, what is that? Whose idea was that? All of this just looks like junk. And I just got stuck on that thing. These tower things were fun in Halo 2, but they just don't seem to be doing anything here. Halo 3 as well designed its vehicle sections weird way. It's like these big open spaces, but it makes most sense just to like drive through them. Anyway, let's see what else is going on. I really hate that like everyone has had their color differences muted. Like, there are still classes to the aliens clearly, but like the Jackal's shields are very drab, and like the grunts I almost can't tell apart. Like, they're all just this like weird washed out orangey color mostly. Like, they're afraid that if they have like bright primary colors marking them apart, they might look, I don't know, kiddie or god forbid video gamey. So everyone is this like weird like earthy pseudo-naturalist. What do we even call this? They just look awful. Like, their backs have this like weird, gross, natural quality to the tank, which doesn't look natural or real or good. It's just like, it's just very unpleasant to look at. I don't like them. It makes them these like weird, sickly looking blobs, which, yeah, if I was meant to like feel disgusted with them, that might be something, but I doubt that's the idea. I think this is just an incompetently made game. And again, just these elites, like their armor, like not covering their forearms looks awful. Who's shooting at me? Him. Yeah, this thing seems pretty good. I guess the idea is you burn through ammo quick though. Let's see what else we've got. They're firing these at us. Okay, this is the alien battle rifle thing, the carbine, and how's it go? The old carbines thing was that you would get like a green tracer effect, like a very strong, like green line from the gun to the target, whereas here, this This thing is just like hit scan, it feels like. Like, if I shoot the right way, I can get like the right effect or the right class of effect to go like off the rebound, but like that should be coming out of the barrel of a gun. The gun. I'm not saying like, oh, you have to do what Halo 2 did forever, but like, it looked better in Halo 2. I don't like this feeling of like, look at how there's like nothing between the barrel and the target. Like, you could say that's like, oh, that's a very lethal looking weapon, but like, no, I just don't like how it feels at all. And here's the plasma cannon, basically looks like in 3. It's fine, it looks a bit like a silly sea creature. I like that if you look close, it's a big plasma rifle, just with junk Halo 4 details in the way. If I fire it up, what's going on? Okay, there was no like big explosive like clang sound when I ripped this off, which just sucks. I mean, yes, it's a floating gun, but like, the idea in the old games, though, was that you're, like, ripping it off the force of gravity, holding it in place, which is a very, like, violent motion, which I liked. And they had this little, like, exaggerating, like, little explosion effect superficially go off when you rip them off to, like, really sell that this is, like, a feat of strength. Whereas this, I just, like, picked it up and started walking. Well, I like that I can blow off individual hubcaps. Oh look, one of those stupid goddamn jerry cans blew off. Okay, I think they overdid it, like entire pieces like blowing off like at the same time when we hit certain damage thresholds just looks kind of silly. This feels kind of like a toy product made of something a bit more elaborate than Lego. Like the way like pieces fly off in chunks, like some kid like assembled this like one step at a time following instructions. Again, just enough more stuff not satisfying me with how it works, but we can keep going. So everyone over here is ugly and dead. There are needlers, which I might grab since I used all this thing's ammo demoing. We'll use this. He's also got a carbine, but we'll leave him be. I just want to look at his mask, but I'm getting like stuck in that thing because it has like fucked up physics to make sure you get up here. Now, look at his neck and how he has like no chin. Like, his neck is not thinner than his head, which was the old jackal feature, which made them look like some kind of like scavenger bird, whereas this is a lizard, and I get that a certain kind of like lizard or dinosaur does have a neck pretty much as thick as its head, but that just looks really silly in, like, what is meant to be this role in the team for the aliens. Like, yes, the, like, annoying snipers and, like, skirmisher guys who just, like, annoy you with their shields, them being scavenger birds makes sense. Why are they dinosaurs now? Like, they were scavenger birds. Well, this is what happens when you hire the, like, in Frank O'Connor wisdom, you find the guy who hates Halo because of X, and what he actually means is, I hate it because it's not yet Y. We can just flatly make it better by turning the, like, grunt methane tanks into, like, giant pimples. We can turn the jackals into goddamn fat-headed dinosaurs.
Asking's not my strong suit.
This kind of like banter between Chief and Cortana is just weird. Someone said like it's like a Gearbox game, and yeah, that's largely what we're drawing from, I think. How do we feel about that falling over animation? I'm not crazy about it. It kind of gets in the way of the fact Halo has physics. I mean, CE had like, it could only very limitedly do physics, so like it's more like they just snap into like a fixed animation, but I don't know, I feel like those were better suited to the tone and just better integrated into what's happening. Like, they don't like mix a fixed animation with physics. It's just like, sorry, drop that thought. He looks sick. What is that like fucked up screw on his navel and like the scales which like run up and down various points, like growing out in dark patches from his middle. He looks like some kind of like sick mutant, not the like best of the aliens we've managed to find. Like, Jesus, look at that like growth. Like, he's got some kind of infection, but no, this is just how he is. Like, yeah, this guy was noble looking at one point. Also, he's got like a retarded cone head helmet. Again, they made his neck thicker. They really wanted everyone's head to just be this thumb-like extension of their necks, and everyone's got like a stupid, like pointy, like bulbous shapes on their armor. Why do they think it's good to look like this? Do you remember that meme that did the rounds a while back of like good guys, bad guys, and like the good guys look like complete dorks, and the idea is like, oh, well, make sure you remember who's the good guys. Like, the Covenant in this look like the good guy side of that meme where they're just like cartoonishly ugly and tasteless looking. But yeah, like, it's not like they're ugly in a sense that reflects anything about who they are. Like, they're not saying like, oh, the Covenant are like sickly, retarded people now, so they've like declined in gear. Like, no, someone just thought this looked cool. Someone told me that they wished I'd talk more about Prometheus in relation to Halo. I can now. A point in Prometheus and Alien Covenant that is like lost on a lot of people, even though I don't think it's complex, like it blew my mind. Like, I went on Reddit, which some people tell me is smarter than 4chan now, to see what people say, and no one got this very simple point. Like, the example I was just raising that isn't the case here is the case in... Ugh, grenade physics so bad now. What isn't the case here was the case in Alien Covenant, where they made the same race of aliens look very different between two movies. One's a direct sequel to another. But what happened between those movies is like 10,000 or so years of history, and in the first movie you meet an alien who's very like strong, noble, and upright looking, and then in the second one you see a bunch of aliens who are like, they're clearly related to him, but they're like shorter and misshapen and like messed up looking, like they have like uneven, screwed up teeth, their complexion's bad, they're all like different heights, they look a bit like kind of just misshapen and out of sorts. They're just like this weird jumbled mess of like demented rip-offs of the other alien we saw. And that's not like a mistake or something. Like, even on Reddit people are saying like, you know, it'd be expensive to get them all to look right. Like, no, you fucking imbecile. The point of seeing the aliens again in Alien Covenant is that they don't look right. Like, that's actually the point in universe, that these people are wrong. They are the degenerate descendants of the alien you saw in the first movie. These aliens who found humanity unworthy have become unworthy themselves. They are like the retarded, like, Brazilian favela dwellers of that guy's race. Like, everything went wrong for them, and they're like a shadow of what he was, even if you can see the relation. Now, my point to bring it back around is that Halo could have done something like that. There was that kind of informed design and purpose behind everything in Halo Combat Evolved, and yeah, things kind of got off track as more people joined the team, more ideas, and different directions over time, but still, broadly, it was true of every Halo game made by Bungie that there was that kind of sense and direction, and by here, immediately, that's gone. It's just lots of things had changed, and in every case, I ask you, why did they do that? And the answer is basically, I don't know, who the fuck cares? Let people enjoy things. Like, there is no good reason to do this shit they did. They just did it anyway because they wanted to do something. Probably they were just quite insecure about how little of a mark they could justify making on the thing. Again, it's insane. You can just look this up on Wikipedia, that they made a, like, vertical slice, they call it in the industry, just like a finished level, basically, to show off how they could make the game. And playtesters liked it, and this was basically them trying to make something like Bungie. And playtesters liked it, they proved to themselves they could do it, and then they thought, nah, but we're gonna we hired all the guys who have problems with Halo, so we're going to just, like, you know, if Halo has problems, it needs fixing, doesn't it? So, like, yeah, we could make the Bungie thing, but, we could also not do that, and yeah, this is them, like, applying their fixes, and I haven't actually looked close enough at the production to find specific examples of people claiming that, but I do really want to like look up a member of the team like proudly talking about something they fixed, and I just want to hear how like fucking idiotic their reasoning is. I was just testing how things would react to being shot, and I didn't expect that. Does that look like something that explodes to you? It doesn't really look like anything to me. That's like a prop from Space Chimps or Monsters vs. Aliens. It just looks fucking stupid. That's what like... That's not like a Halo alien artifact of any kind. That's just like generic like butt sci-fi Halo, like I mean alien prop. Like what do the aliens have? They have things that look like this with glowing balls in them, just like a vase with a glowing ball in the top because that's an alien thing. Fucking super. I love it. Just yeah, back to what I was saying. I haven't looked specifically, but I bet that every fix they had, every inspired idea, there is not actually a good reason behind a single one. We could go check, but if you think there is a single change which is good and makes sense and I've kind of missed it, please let me know. Man, looking at these hills now, like the way we have this like very like Nordic, like Icelandic scenery, it makes me think of Death Stranding. It's like, shit, why can't that be the actual level? Like, why is that the skybox at the end? I want to actually, like, move over those, like, big green rolling hills. I would actually enjoy that as a level, but... Nah, apparently the, like, most correct guy working on this level was just the, like, skybox and scenery guy, when he wasn't drawing, like, giant floating monolithic PC gaming towers for no reason. Anyway, let's see what happens when I pick up the active camouflage.
I'll run a soft patch to it from the suit. Never know what might come in handy.
Oh, so I'm just going to... Okay then, I guess I just have camo all game like the Arbiter in Halo 2. I'm looking for the... Oh, there it is. It's left of my little radar in the bottom left.
I heard something that time.
Ooh, listen to that turn-on sound. I really like the way it's just this, like, shiny, clashing, like, ksh sound in the old games. It's just very, like, very powerful and very clean. Again, though, we've just gone to, like, butt sci-fi noises. Like, things in Halo that are made out of hard light don't make that sound when they deploy, but they do now because it's like a... It's like the sound that, like, Monster Energy drinker expects to hear when the laser thing turns on. It's just so tasteless and shitty. Oh, hey, it's these guys. So are they coming to fight me, or...? Let's see what's happening. What a trashy, trashy thing this is that I'm looking at. Just like generic video game Phantom Menace pits. Everything about this is so stock and so ugly, like, just poor Forerunner design. Like, nothing is like hard-edged and practical anymore. Everything has like 500 rivets and divots and flashing lights on it. Now we have like random prop pyramids in the middle of nowhere. The fuck is going on? I hate these people. Anyway, let's grab a gun. We're going to have to shoot things in a moment.
There, Chief. A console in the back.
Yeah, that storm rifle feels like shit to use. The carbine kind of does too. We'll hold the sword and try to kill something with it, but I doubt it'll be fun. So, here's a little, like, staged scene of the kind I like using video game parts. Just... It feels very low effort and I'm not impressed, and just, like, yeah, they scattered dead grunts around, like the idea is they knocked on the door and the sentinels killed them. Fine, that's more entertaining than anything that's happened so far. But good god, this is a good way to just get a look at this guy and how fucking dumb he looks. He looks like an alien from fucking Ratchet and Clank. Look at this. Like the giant 3 toes, because like Western game people just love like weird foot emphasis and will always do that if you let them. And like the giant neck paired with the helmet that still like flies straight back off his head, turning him into like a cone head. And the really creepy looking like exposed but covered navel and the sickly arms. That's sad. Now, what is this? Okay, we're just apparently at the cartographer immediately.
Localized site cartographer.
Look at the Master Chiefs next time we cut to him. Look at the like basketball texture on his undersuit.
At least we know where we are.
Superhero, like, that's cape shit. That's a cape shit detail. Look at Henry Cavill's suit in Man of Steel. They did that to it.
What happened?
I don't know. It locked up.
Oh no.
I'm detecting power fluctuations in several locations. I'll put them up for you.
Yeah, part-time for this level was 15 minutes, but I don't think you're meant to play it like I did. And that kind of goes to another thing I thought I might talk about today, just like how you're meant to appreciate something. It really isn't like not intended that people will look this close at something, which is kind of odd considering the amount of effort that goes in. Which goes back to the Big Fry thought, just think of how many man-hours it takes to make the games on that channel, which are all just like abandoned in a year. How much money? Like, projects like that make me thankful that like maybe the bloody AI tools will actually be able to largely make games in the future. Nothing of interest to me will be able to be done with an AI tool because just like, yeah, I'm only really interested in the idea that a person thought to make something, but you know how it is, it's always what I'm saying. What am I doing here exactly? I turned that on and yes, I was saying, like, in terms of what people actually take from something. Sorry, distracted by this.
What's it doing?
It's all right. This energy is actually a ferroelectric data field. Your
Very
shields are
interesting,
just
Halo
in
4.
response to the chamber's charge.
Will this bring the cartographer back online?
Partially. This type of processing system usually works in parallel. We'll have to locate its twin.
Okay, a thought I've got now, sorry this has just come to my mind. The hard light bridges in the first game kind of faded out at the edges because, like, they are light, that's kind of what light does. It gave them this very odd, precarious feeling, which was, they look too hard now. It was almost like you were walking on, like, fog or something in the first game, which I really liked, whereas this is just, like, a hard laser wall, like, generic video game prop that pisses me off. Oh, now there's aliens. Anyway, sorry, that thought I was getting at, which I got distracted from. I hope you weren't, like, hanging on in suspense for too long over that one. This is something I wrote about on one of the older forums a while back. The way they, like, moonwalk back, the way they do the, like, Michael Jackson lean backwards as they die pisses me off. I wrote about how the first time I played Halo 3, it was with a friend who really just didn't know what the fuck Halo was, and he called some random frigate that showed up in the campaign the Mothership. Not in the sense that, like, he had his own appreciation of what it was, like he had an elaborate plot worked out in which that's the Mothership. The thought that came to my mind was just that, like, he gives so little of a fuck about what's going on. He just, like, projects stock butt fiction concepts onto whatever's in front of him. And I was thinking about that in relation to Cortana, how, like, the redesign doesn't work or make sense if you appreciate her role as interpreted by me in the old games, but if you're someone who understands video games on the level of, like, oh, the, like, Forward Unto Dawn or whatever, when it shows up in, Halo 3, this ship that can fit, like, 3 tanks inside it, that's humanity's mothership. If that's the level you appreciate Halo on, like, how does a mothership even fit in? If you think that makes sense in the plot, like, you're just checked out. Like, yeah, that's... If that guy were in charge of designing a new Halo, he would, like, do weird shit like that everywhere. And, yeah, to me, aesthetically, the redesign of Cortana is about on that level of wrong. Like, you have to misunderstand that badly. And where was I going exactly? I don't know exactly, just there's a lot we could say about interpreting Cortana, like, what exactly is she, like, if you don't know what Athena is, and you also just, like, aren't listening to her when she speaks, and you're just, like, blind to the interpersonal dynamics. How much do you need to be like that to just, like, think that, like, this redesign is okay? Or was it people who just wanted to recontextualize her? I don't know, but it's very much in the old games that she's, like, half the Master Chief's mother, because she's also Dr. Halsey, who, like, basically adopted and raised the Master Chief and the other Spartans, and she's kind of humanity's mother and a god. She's just so far above everyone and so essential and so distant that, yes, I think it's very interesting and layered, the kind of relationship one can have with a force like that. You're like, she's like his mother, his god, his friend, a teammate at the same time. It's all very interesting, and here she's reduced to, like, the hot girl who talks to you. Like, that's fucking weird. Like, it goes back to what I was saying about, like, crass interpretations. That's what I meant to bring this down to. I'm sure there are lots of idiots who thought, like, oh, well, the Master Chief, Cortana's, like, his girlfriend, isn't she? Yeah, his, like, girlfriend with an IQ of 10,000 who is, like, a supercomputer with a personality, who is just, like, guiding the entire human race from above. Just, it's a very dumb dynamic that isn't really there beyond, like, close intimacy and affection between them of a kind, which they more play up in the later games, but, like, by 3, which I think is actually quite messed up aesthetically on a few levels, perhaps largely because of Frank O'Connor, and just appealing to their audience, like, just playing to, like, on some level I'm sure Bungie understood that, like, a lot of very fucking dumb people liked Halo. But, yes, and then we go into this whole redesign business. In the first game, something that may have made it even clearer to the stupids, especially in America, is that Cortana was going to have a British accent. I think the only, like, vestige of that in the finished game is that she tells 343 Guilty Spark to sod off at one point, which is a very bizarre thing for an American to say, but she was written with an English accent. That's why she says that. And yes, like, what does English mean? Like, what is that coded as in American popular culture? There's kind of your answer. It's sort of the aesthetic opposite, again, of the impression created by her, like, dumpy, short tits and ass build in this game, which someone apparently thought was a good idea. Someone who, you know, if I were in charge would be fired, but if you're Frank O'Connor, you hire that person. He would have hired my friend who thought, like, a frigate was the mothership. What even is a mothership in the context of this story? I don't fucking know, ask him. Sorry if you wanted to see more game, I just kind of got... I wanted to finish that line of thought because I started it like 3 times.
Mayday.
Ooh, what have we got?
UNSC AI Cortana to Infinity. Please respond.
Ooh, we're calling the Infinity people.
No response. But from the strength of that signal, the Infinity has to be close by.
Alright, the Infinity is close
Cartographer
by.
back online. We may be able to use it to track the ship's location.
I want to kill something with this sword while I've got it. There we go. Yeah, I don't like that the grunts make, like, generic evil goblin noises again now. Joe Staten gave them so much character. Like, it was levity and, like, constant novelty, which was fun, and, like, again, aesthetically it ran into, like, the idea of what these guys are, that the grunts are, like, not warriors, they're, like, idiots who make stupid jokes and just, like, can't control their emotions at all in the battle. Like, the Master Chief is very, like, stoic and in the zone, always focused, and the grunts are just, like, constantly, like, screaming or cheering for each other or freaking out or just... They're just these, like... They're just, like, retarded slave soldiers, which is very, very funny, and making Joseph Staten do, like, a cartoon characterization of that is a very funny way to get that across. And it's, like, one of the heavier themes of the game as well, and making a joke out of it is a good way to kind of launder that through. Like, no one really thinks that, like, the grunts are, like, yeah, they're slave soldiers. They don't want to be there, and they're, like, the races that are, like, very obviously their betters in every way enslave them and use them as cannon fodder. Like, that's kind of a dark theme. Like, we're meant to like the elites instinctively. Like, they're the good-coded ones, and they're the ones who just, like, drive grunts to their deaths by the thousand. But it works because Joe Staten made a joke out of it. The grunts are really, really funny. I think it's a combination of the characterization, which on its own wouldn't be great, but also the way it's just, like, the myth factor, the game myth, the way that, like, the potential way that you can just play with grunts is very fucking funny. And again, it's very pathos of distance that, like, you see these idiots and you just want to, like, bully them. It's very funny. I feel like an elite when I look at something this much weaker than me. Bang! Oh, why are they so ugly? Why do they have... Their necks did not look like that in CE. Someone decided that they should look like this from now on. Who did that and why? I have no fucking idea. But I think that this was so bad, like recognized as bad, that, again, if you haven't played it... Oh yeah, here's something I have to tell you. I would show you Halo Infinite on this channel eventually. I still probably will, but I can't right now because I played that game to completion. I beat it like 2 or 3 years ago, and since then, a patch has been added which blacklists my computer. Technically, I am strong enough to play it. My computer can run it, but it's below what they would consider ideal minimum specs. So rather than just like letting my computer run it or fail, they like actually patch the game so my computer just gets like locked out of the game. It closes itself immediately if I try to run Halo Infinite. It doesn't crash my computer, I mean, it just closes the game, but yeah, I can't show you Halo Infinite on this computer. I'd need to get another one somehow. Or just, you know, get a graphics card with more VRAM, that's the problem, but... Well, that's their problem. This much VRAM can run the game, but they don't think it should. And I was just going to almost say something nice about them, but they just have to spite me like that. Where I was going is that obviously 343 came under some, like, flack from outside, and they had to, like... They were actually forced to look at themselves a little bit with Halo Infinite because basically every aesthetic redesign of the Covenant gets reverted, like, even further than Halo Reach and 3, like, to Halo CE, but done in Unreal Engine or whatever. Like, they just basically rebuilt the old designs with this level of, like, detail and fidelity, or almost less as well. I could talk about, like, the strange texture of graphics in that game, but again, the best way to do that would be to play it and just, like, show you specific examples, but we can't because they won't fucking let me. But yeah, these designs are like a short-lived continuity which everyone hated as far as I know when they actually, like, undid them. And yes, it would be very easy to undo them, I imagine, because when they ask, like, let's say I'm Joe Staten, I've taken over the team for Halo Infinite, I say, like, hey, we liked how the grunts looked in CE, why the fuck did you turn them into this? What do they say to him? Like, they're just this constantly cycling contract team. Was the guy who decided to do this even still there? And does he have a real case, or was he just an idiot who wanted to have his version in the game? God, like, the way the helmet connects to the head and everything, it's just so ugly. I hate it so much. And yeah, all of this got reverted. If you look at how the Covenant look in Halo Infinite, they all look like Halo CE versions of... They all look like they're Halo CE incarnations, but with new technology. That's the closest description of what they look for like, rather than any other Halo game or any new design. And where was I going with all of that? Yes, just even like within their lore, which they're probably scrapping again, like, these guys were a dead continuity. I think the explanation they went with was that, like, we're looking at different races or subspecies in Halo 4 and 5, that's why they look ugly and different. But don't worry, is like what they're saying there. They'll never show up again. They were just this weird little guest star in these games. But then, of course, Halo Infinite just, like, retconned 4 and 5 is my understanding. Like, they just dropped every plot thread they set up and tried to just, like, desperately force in a new one. But then, like, the production of more Halo Infinite stuff stalled and fell apart, so we didn't even get more of that, so it's just dead continuity, salvage attempt, dead continuity again. Now, as far as I know, last I heard, they're going for a Halo CE remake or reboot or remaster. And that ties back into what we were saying before. Do you know who they think might be leading this new version of Halo Combat Evolved for Microsoft? Well, after his Big Fry game bombed and failed, Joseph Staten was between jobs, and now people think he's maybe like the director job. There was a listing for that within Microsoft, director for our new Halo game, and then that's gone down. No one knows what Joseph Staten's doing at the moment. It seems quite likely that Microsoft came crawling back to him because he was the man who, at the very least, got Halo Infinite finished. He was able to just like yell at their contract slaves and get a finished game out of all their like piled up bullshit nonsense work. That's the story that's going on right now. I think Joseph Staten may be directing a new Halo CE. Did I make this comparison to the Star Wars sequels? How funny it is, like how similar it is. They made two like tremendously they made like an unpopular thing, a tremendously unpopular thing, Halo 5, which is probably just going to be locked to the Xbox One forever. They didn't even PC port it. It was so like weird and unpopular. And then Halo Infinite, which was like a desperate like mewling like please come back to us effort. That's pretty much the trajectory of the Star Wars sequels, which not too far displaced in years. The first one fails to impress. It seems arbitrarily different in ways that annoy some purists. Next one pisses off everyone, very hard to defend. And then the third one is just this like basically an admission that they fucked up with the last two, trying to just like do as much like cheap fan service and throwbacks and canceling shit people hated in one work all at once. Just like, sorry, it's everything you like again. We jettisoned all that shit that was pointless that pissed you off. But you know, too little too late. And where was I going with that as a last thought? I don't remember exactly, maybe it'll come in a moment. Oh yeah, the last thing I wanted to say. In Halo Infinite, the file you get when you buy the campaign as like its own DLC, that's a folder in your files. I was looking at the folders and files trying to see if I could bypass the lock. The campaign you can buy for Halo Infinite is called Campaign S1 Season 1. The idea was like, okay, they get the foundation of Halo Infinite in place, and it's infinite, like, okay, we've got the fundamental parts of Halo, you just keep fucking making more Halo, we don't need to like redesign the Covenant every game, we've learned. But again, too little too late. How sad is that? Season 1, it basically got cancelled again, like a sub-cancellation of a sub-series within one game that just... nothing could go right. There's just every like step forward they took so much shit in Halo with 343 that they just had to like cancel and try to reorient every single time. It's just, how do you fuck up this hard? I don't think they took a single successful step people believed in. The closest, interestingly, was Halo Wars 2, which was actually the plot foundation for Halo Infinite. People liked the Halo Wars 2 setup because it was basically like a boring loyalist plot. It was like the Star Wars Mandalorian of Halo, just made by like nerds who like the old thing and just faithfully reproduced it superficially, like just more of it, just a flat extension. And compared to the shit they were getting in the main games, people thought like, wow, Halo Wars 2, this is real Halo. So Halo Infinite's plot is like, okay, the plots of Halo 4 and 5 were inconsequential, literally resolved off screen. The Master Chief is now like opening cutscene, he's fighting the fucking villain from Halo Wars 2. How funny is that? And Halo Wars 1 as well, I'll briefly say, I can play that on this channel because my fucking graphics card isn't locked out of it. At some point anyway, we can talk more about that and Obama games and what happened to RTS and Halo, but what I'll say is that it's a faithful game. Halo Wars is a vision of what Halo could have been if future games were handled by like unambitious fans who liked Halo and basically saw Halo as it was, as like a set of instructions that they like dare not mess with, for better and worse. And the thing is, there are things I would mess with that would be considered weird and ambitious in a Halo strategy game if you put me in charge of one that I would do, that Halo Wars didn't do, but it's because I believe I know better than them what Halo is. I would do these things, not like I would fuck with it and like change it to correct it. Like, no, I'm saying like there are things that would have seemed weird to someone not used to thinking about it, but I think it could have been more Halo aesthetically and in other ways if they did weird. Like, basically, it's too much of a conventional RTS to feel like Halo, sorry. And aesthetically, the plot isn't, like, ambitious, but it's not ambitious, but it's 100% Halo, and that's, in a lot of people's minds, what the good ending would have been for Halo leaving Bungie's hands. Just, like, safe works by people who don't want to rock the boat. They have, like, a simple, but not wrong, like, sort of superficial and boring, but broadly correct understanding of Halo, and they just feel like they reproduce that forever, just more adventures in like stock sci-fi and stock game premises that are dressed up like Halo. And yeah, that's what people want. Like, I've seen people say like Warhammer, like Star Wars games were that, and then Star Wars got pissed on by Disney, so Warhammer 40k has largely taken off because people do just like stock worlds they're broadly familiar with and stock premises, and Halo was the vehicle for like a stock science fiction and stock game premise in the 2000s. Then Disney shit that up and burned all the goodwill and interest, and then 40k became that, and Halo could have been another. There could have been like 50 Halo spin-offs a year that were all like, they're all guys in green armor, they're all fighting the Covenant, they all have the same weapons, the same vehicles, the same conflicts and dynamics playing out forever. That might not have been stunning stuff, but it would have fundamentally worked, and that's basically what I think 343 might have to, like, throw in the towel and start doing now after all of these years. Trump won again at the ballot box, and yeah, so now it might be like Mr. Loeb triumphant. We just get, like, stock, very simple video game premises where, like, superficially everything is in its right place forever. Because if you're a certain kind of person, you probably think, like, people with ideas are what's ruining video games. Take the thing that works and just do it again. And yeah, there's something to be said for that, but you know, that's not how we got Halo. But depending on who you ask, it is, and what do I know? What do I got, like 300 subscribers? We'll see. Anyway, let's access this cartographer. Sorry this level turned from like a walking tour and let's play into just a podcast, but I know at least a few of you like that. If you like it when I talk, then here's all your mileage, and if not, then, yeah, if you right arrow through all of that or just close the video, I don't hold it against you. But let's push this thing now. Okay, cutscene. I get pissed off looking at this Cortana. What the hell were they thinking? Look at that! She's like wearing like leggings. Fuck.
Transmission is coming from everywhere on the planet at once. It doesn't want to triangulate Infinity's signal.
Alright. Fascinating, fascinating. We're immediately in the giant structure, finding things we haven't seen before. Damn, 343. Bigger, but not more interesting.
You mean the planet's hollow?
And just, that's a fucking dumb twist on Halo. We go from ringworld to hollow world. Am I interested in this? No.
On the far side of the complex. We can portal to the planet's core from there.
God, her face. Look at her fucking teeth. What is that? There is like no ephemerality to her now. She's just like a blue woman with tattoos and glowing lines.
We're taking it.
Do you get what I mean if I say that? Like, you can't see through her. Like, Halo 1 Cortana is barely fucking there. She's like light projected up from a little base. You can always see through her. Like, it's a struggle to see her at several points.
And find Infinity.
Oh gee, I thought I ended the level. Okay.
What do you know about Infinity?
Let me just make sure. Yeah, we're still on Requiem.
Not much. She was supposed to be massive, but the project was only in prototype when we left.
This just looks gay. Look at his hand when he raises this thing. Ooh. You won't get through my hard light shield. Again, that's like dumb Call of Duty shit, the riot shield. And what's this?
Fortifying the bridge below. Stay sharp.
This is sort of like the ending of the like Covenant sequences in Halo 3 where you like go down a big bridge, but had a lot of stuff going on. Like this moment was framed as a payoff, and I don't know, it worked okay. Why are the Covenant piling these up? I think it's just because they want me to be using them potentially, not because it makes sense. A great little set dressing detail from Halo 2 is that the brutes gather human weapons because they actually use them and like them. Not all of the Covenant, just the brutes, because they're like idiots who like their weapons to be loud and mean. That's just a very simple thing that I'm sure wasn't hard to implement, but it really gives a lot of character to proceedings. It was very easy using the tools of a game, just like, again, set dressing is the word. You drop items in a certain place to mean something, and, you know, they're the actual items as well, so they serve that function too. Like, it's a way for you to get human weapons in levels where you're playing the Alien Civil War in Halo 2, and it just says something about the character of everyone involved. It's very interesting, and it's a unique challenge that, you actually have to fight brutes in Halo 2, aliens who have shotguns, because, again, they just think shotguns are awesome, so they take them from humans when they can. Yeah, again, this just doesn't feel like a gun, this battle rifle. Like, what is that sound? Are you hearing that? What is that? Why is it so, like, squibby? How do I even describe that? It just sounds wrong. Everyone's got this, like, exaggerated, like, falling backwards death. I remember this was, like, a forced meme. Journalists just decided to pretend to be impressed by this for a while. Like, that game nobody remembers Rage. People pretended that Rage had really good graphics and was, like, cool for these features. Like, the way that enemies, like, dramatically fall backwards when shot. People pretended that was cool. It's not. Like, they don't just, like, they wouldn't just do the, like, Havoc Physics ragdoll. They would have some, like, animated, like, pre-planned thing where, like, you shoot a guy and he, like, stumbles and falls, and I just remember lots of people saying, like, oh, it's very impressive in Rage that, like, all of the guys, like, they don't just, like, drop when shot. They do, like, they react, they stumble, and they fall. It's like, yeah. Who remembers Rage? And nobody, like, does this. It's, like, striking now that this is happening because people stopped doing this because it was just, like, a fad, not the future. It's not inherently better to do it this way. I would say it even looks kind of silly in most cases, integrated with just the, like, flow of movement and the sense of weight that things have.
Net's going crazy. They're ordering all units to converge on the tower.
They're converging on the tower.
I guess we got their attention.
Alright, what's going on? This just looks like shit, these big arenas. Again, they look like games that would be covered by Big Fry. Alright, what do we use here? We'll use this. This thing, which just makes it look like they're falling dead because there's no line coming out of the gun. Oh no, there is if I move, just it's like so like weak that I can't see it. They probably thought, like, I can imagine some idiot at 343 saying like, hey, this thing's a projectile that hits instantly, you shouldn't be able to see the line through the air. And yeah, good job, idiot, now it just feels like I'm not shooting. Again, like the Jackie Chan editing logic, it has to feel right, not be right. You're doing visual media, I'm looking at this shit on a screen. What looks right on the screen, I don't care if the math doesn't add up. Like, ooh, a projectile that can hit that fast wouldn't leave a trail you can see. I don't fucking care, put it there, it looks better. You're making a video game, the physics don't have to make sense, you can cheat, nobody's going to care. What am I going to do, call a fucking teacher on you? Call the cops? Just do shit because it's cool. I feel like nobody on this production did anything because it was cool. Or, you know, maybe they did, but, you know, like, God help us if there are people who thought this was the coolest way to render the ideas at the heart of Halo. You inherit all of these brilliant Bungie ideas and designs, and you turn them into this because you thought it was better this way. God help you if that's you. Anyway, sorry, I thought we were ending the level when I activated that thing before, but apparently I just take that long to get anywhere. All these guns feel like shit to fire. What am I even shooting at? Is that the edge of a turret? I don't know. Let's go kill this guy. Do you have another gun for me? I'm sick of this. These storm rifles feel like shit too. I don't think there's a single gun I actually want that any of these guys are carrying. Anyway, let's see what this does. Ooh, you can't get through my barrier. Okay, if this were like really like extremely deflecting shots, that'd be fun. The fact that one had its physics broken is mildly entertaining, but yeah, this isn't cool enough for me to feel like I really want to be using it. I'm just gonna forget that's there now. This storm rifle feels like such crap. I get that, like, Call of Duty audience, they wanted another, like, main plasma weapon that's shaped like a rifle. Fucking luck. I'm sure they imagined some, like, idiot who likes Call of Duty thinking, like, ooh, the plasma rifle looks gay. Why isn't it shaped like a gun? So now they made this. And it's just, like, arbitrarily different to the plasma rifle in a few ways. It feels less like it's firing plasma because, ew, that's a gay nerd thing. It's gotta feel like it's shooting a solid projectile, even though it isn't, which is just... it doesn't feel good. Again, like, all these things, like, this sounds like I'm firing a nail gun.
The elites just issued a general order. They're moving all ground teams to secure the tower entrance above.
I don't really know how to put this, but the way, like, plasma floats in CE, it feels like you're firing something other than solid mass, which is very pleasing. This feels like, again, a nail gun, like it's very solid mass compared to... well, yeah, compared to the... okay, that just didn't charge up. I had the trigger down. I guess there's some weird, like, refresh period where, like... no, no, it worked there. Somehow I, like, cancelled the ability to set up a new shot and, like, had the trigger held down in that time. Never mind, it's not an interesting thing to explain. But yeah, like, the way plasma moves like this weird, hot, floaty, ethereal substance, like, it's not some, like, you're not just, like, driving bullets or nails through the air, like, plasma is this different substance in CE. They kept that to some extent in all of the Bungie games, and here I very much have the feeling it's just gone. These are just, like, green metal I'm firing. The whole... it's really just... it's great work on every level. It's, like, hard to quantify. Just the amount of stuff they did coming together, which made the plasma pistol, the plasma everything feel like what it was supposed to be. That's the kind of, like, excellent work you really can't quantify, but it's just what the difference between your industry doing great and badly to a large extent. It's something I've talked about, just like excess human capital, just the quality of your secondary guys. These guys, nobody remembers them, but... you know, if everyone on the team is, like, on the ball with stuff like making the gun feel and sound right, then all those details add up to a great game. And all of those details fucked up just make for something miserable or just not that appealing. And that's very much this game. Like, if Halo Combat Evolved was just, like, everything perfectly thought out, everything realized, then this game is just everything subtly wrong and feeling bad. Good job, Sentinels. He is a hunter, and I don't like how his, like, arm thing is rendered in this, like, organic, rounded shape, and how he has this, like, weird... like the grunts, he has this unpleasant, like, bobbing, fast acceleration to his movement. Did you see the way he moved then? I wasn't fighting, just so you can, like, look at him in motion and how... see if you can see what I see, that how, like, fucked up he looks. I'll actually fight them in a moment, but I want you to look at them a little more. I think this is important. Okay, that's them dealt with. Now let's look at this freak guy. Sorry, I want to see, just like, look at this as a laid out scene. Are they landing more Covenant? They said they're trying to seal me in, but I don't know, I see like 2 grunts. I was hoping there'd be like squads closing in behind me. But yeah, like, look at the way he moves on the ground. Like, he moves like he's weightless. The worms somehow just like look wrong. They just look like the outside of like a cape shit bodysuit again. I don't know how they get those details so wrong. And this gun, it feels like I just didn't shoot him. Like, he had the same animation of like, ah, I'm burning my hand when he fired it, but yeah, in the old games, like, you get like crazy, like, flaring plasma out the side of an overheating plasma weapon. Like, these things are hot, these things are powerful, these things will like fucking burn your arm off if you hold one while firing it too much. Whereas in this, he was just like, ooh, like he takes his hand away, but like, there's no like weird blue burning plasma fire. Okay, his projectile moves too slow and just looks shit. Like, it looks way too like big and blobby as it fires out the gun. Like, why does it have that like congealing moment before it starts flying as it comes out his gun? That just looks terrible. And did you see the way he like rotated on the spot while chasing me? Like, there's no heavy up-down motion to his steps like the elites in Halo CE. He just like,
While you were busy, I managed to clear up another
his acceleration, his momentum, his weight, they're all just fucked. Again, this is the difference between a great game and a game that feels like shit. It's just a collection of these elements largely, and back to what I say understanding Halo is all about.
placed it at the top of the tower.
Yeah, shut up, Cortana. What Halo, appreciating Halo is all about is largely just understanding the origin of these little things which make the difference. You know, idiotic Mexicans on 4chan call these factors soul because they don't understand. They resort to mysticism because they're confused. We don't have to do that. We know that the Covenant's design is informed by what they're supposed to be, and what they're supposed to be stems from a central concept of Halo, which is, you know, it's the realization of a very particular story about very particular things to make the points which are at the heart of this thing. Halo is about something. Particular elements have to be a certain way to say certain particular things. And if you're deaf to those things and in charge of a redesign, you'll just change random shit for the sake of it, and the result of that is Halo 4, what we're looking at here. Why is this chamber so fucking ugly and over-designed? Why is it covered in LED lights? Why is orange a part of the color scheme now? Who the hell knows? Ask Frank O'Connor, I'm sure he's got no answer. He's probably ashamed that this game exists. Not that he understands what's wrong with it, he just vaguely knows that people consider it bad. Does he even work at Microsoft anymore? I don't know. You could also find the guy who directed this game. What's he been up to lately? I feel like the guy who directed this, he also did Def Jam, Fight for New York, as I said. And he may have done a Big Fry game as well, I'm not certain. I seem to remember he worked on one other game and it was very stupid looking. Feel free to go check, creative director for this game, what did he go on to? I don't know, but I bet it sucked. Now, I think we've made it to the end of the level. Part-time was 15 minutes, how long did we take? Probably a while. What is this crap? I don't know. There's ugly Cortana imposter again.
According to the cathedral, this terminus is just one node of a larger transit grid that spans the entire planet.
What?
When I tried to access the outlet closest to Infinity's transmissions, the system responded with this.
What is it?
That's the kicker. It's the Forerunner symbol for Reclaimer.
Ooh.
Humanity. That's got to be Infinity.
Yes,
Can you get us to
humanity
those
is Reclaimer, but humanity is not
Let me try to open
Forerunner,
that
is my understanding in this game. We'll see how fucked up that gets later. I don't think the answer
Cortana.
is going to be very good.
I'm picking up unknown energy signatures.
Where?
This can't be right.
These look fucking stupid.
Set a
These are
waypoint out of the
enemies
tower.
straight out of a Big Fry game.
Cortana?
Really, guys, look up the channel Big Fry TV. There is some
Okay.
surreal stuff to see.
Quick, into the portal. Chief, go!
Look how dumb they are. Like, they're glowing blue, like, skull face details. Jesus. Alright, well, we might get to look at some, we might get to look at some Marines next level, I don't know, but I think we'll call this one here.
What were those things?
Some sort of advanced defense AIs.
Fascinating.
Related to the Sentinels, I'm guessing, but it's hard to say without a closer look. Come on, let's figure out where that transit system dumped us.
Again, that's just like idiotic one-upmanship. The idea of just like, what if there were sentinels, but they were like giant insects with glowing skull faces? These are the kinds of things that sound like good ideas if you have no idea why the fuck the sentinels look like they do in the first place. And again, like, if you can't answer that question, how the fuck do you end up like creative director of a Halo game? I don't know, but this is why the Western industry is dead. I am quite sure, just everything good has some kind of... You can't really fluke great success. There has to be some kind of organic human origin of things, and just a failure to appreciate that, just reducing it to some crass shit you can reproduce indefinitely. That's how we end up here. Isn't this fun? God, look how fucking dumb this looks. Ooh, look at its edgy red color. God. Really, really stupid, embarrassing stuff. Well, some of you enjoyed the recent run and were enjoying my momentum, so here's another long video for you. We'll call this one here and see if I can be bothered doing another tonight or tomorrow night. Probably very soon. I like getting things rolling with a lot of stuff happening at once. So we'll call this one here and we'll find out what's behind this door next episode.